Good morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock, and we had a date. It is time for Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. We're going to be talking about choosing to forgive today on the show. One of the other areas in life I'd like to help some of you out, maybe with forgiveness. We're going to talk about it today. Why should we forgive people? How do we forgive people? What is the benefit of how that's going to help us in our life? Right after these messages, we'll be right back. And we are back. Hope y'all enjoy that intro little video we've had created, our intro outro. That's created from a compilation of different things we have done here at Patrick Lee Group. I've got a couple of different pages, social media profile, multiple social media profiles. One of them being Amarillo Area Community Outlook. That's one of the other pages we have. Some of those were interviews with local business professionals, closings that we have had here on the team, some of the different events we've had for people, just giving you a little picture inside the life of Patrick Lee and the Patrick Lee Group. Hope you like that. My friends that created my digital business card, www.patricklee.work created these videos for me at Content Cards and Crim Content. Great people talking today about forgiveness. People already tuning in. Good morning, Brofasa. Good morning, Patrick. Bring it, brother. I'm going to do my best to offend you and bring you back around into loving me by the end of the show. I hope that everyone tuning in today gets something out of this. That is my goal and desire, talking about forgiveness today on the show. Midweek Motivation Live, now on all major podcast platforms. I was talking to another friend yesterday, and he said that he is on Spotify listening to a podcast. I said, it was telling me about a podcast. I said, are you watching that on YouTube? He goes, no, it's on Spotify. I was like, excellent. My show is on Spotify. You can go to Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, all of those. Let's talk about forgiveness today. What is forgiveness? The dictionary says the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. And a lot of people say, well, is that similar to a pardon or an absolution of wrong? Kind of. Forgiveness in the word itself means forgiveness, past participle of being forgiven, forgive. How do you translate? What is the true meaning of forgiveness? Everyone says, man, it's not a big deal. I've carried a lot of weight in my life, a lot of burden. And this other definition I have here says forgiveness means different things to different people, but in general, it involves an intentional decision to let go of resentment or anger. Wow. How many of us today, by a show of hands or a like, love, share on the show, I see a couple of people have already tuned out. They're like, I don't want to get into this today. I think those people are emotionally weak. I forgive you for tuning out of the show. It's all good. I'm just kidding. But it is an intentional decision to let go of anger or resentment or harboring ill will against somebody for past wrongs they have done in your life. Many of us can attest, myself included, that we have harbored or we have held on to wrongdoings that have been done to us, perpetrated to us in the past, and we continue to give that thing a hold in our life. It's like a bond, if you will, to that person, because every time the situation comes up or that person's name comes up, that hurt, that pain, that resentment that you feel for that person comes back to the surface, does it not? I mean, does it not? So many of you say, I forgive people all the time. It's not that big of a deal. Is it not that big of a deal for you? I would I would question that. And if that's true for you, I applaud you. I think, man, that's great. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about that a little bit about being quick to forgive. But forgiveness is generally not something that happens to a pet or a tree or a car. Many of those things are if a pet bites you accidentally, there's usually a reason for that. You don't just say, well, I forgive my pet, my cat bit me, my dog bit me, or they did something I didn't like. Many of those happen because that is simply the nature of the animal or the thing that happened. Things happen mechanically you can't control. That's very true. But humans have a habit sometimes um, of wrongdoing other people, doing wrong to other people. I forgive you, Ross. Ross said he had to jump out for a second. It was me. I jumped out for a second, but I'm back. Our greatest opportunity to show Christ, our greatest moment of empowerment is through forgiving those that transgress us or those that hurt us. And many of you, and this is not my story of forgiveness, many of you have heard in the past that my oldest sister, Debbie, was murdered 25 years ago, and we believe we know who the perpetrator was. It took 10 years for that person to be brought to justice. Actually, 10 years for that person to be indicted and tried for her murder. And ultimately, they had to acquit because the evidence was inconclusive. In a murder trial, the evidence, it has to be 100% unanimous decision, irrefutable evidence for the person to be convicted. So the jury at that point had no choice but to acquit. So this is not my tale of forgiveness, but this is going to be a part of that. What is forgiveness? We just said it's a decision, an intentional decision to let go of anger or resentment for wrongdoing someone has done to us. So who do we forgive? Or let's say this, how do we picture people who have wronged us in our mind? What is your mental picture of those who have wronged you? I have a lot of friends, and I'm a realtor, so I'm running realtor circles a lot and business circles. And I have a lot of friends that have been divorced. I have some family members that have been divorced. And the common picture that these people have anytime they're referencing the person they're divorcing or the ex is they're Satan, they're the demon, she's the wicked witch of the West, she's crazy. How do you picture those who you feel have wronged you in your mind? What kind of a mental image do you have that you carry every time you think of this person that has wronged you? Are they the Satan? Are they the evil one? Do you see them as ugly in their mind? And do you realize that your forgiveness has bound you to that other person, to that image of that picture of them that you have in your mind? Many people don't really look at the tie that happens in your soul when you do not forgive. And unforgiveness is a choice, just like forgiveness is. Don't think for a minute that you unwillingly don't forgive somebody. When you choose or when you do not forgive somebody, it is a choice to not forgive that person, just like forgiveness is a choice. That unforgiveness binds you to the person. If someone has wronged you, maybe they have shopped at another clothing store and you work at a store and they're a competitor. I could say multiple times that a friend of mine from church has chosen another realtor over me, even though I may have thought I had a better relationship with that person. Many times I have worked with a buyer that I felt like took advantage of my generosity. And at the end of the transaction, I was made smaller and they were made to look bigger, like they were the person more responsible for the success of the transaction. And I choose to let that person go ahead and project that or feel that way. And I'm not going to harbor resentment or unforgiveness to that person based on those decisions or actions. In my own mind, those are the kinds of people that I forgive right away, because it's human nature, right? We live in a fallen world, and many people choose to lift themselves up because they desire credit. And when you get credit for a decision, something that's successful, a thing that has happened, an increase in business, that person's influence goes up when that success is related to them. So many times people will vaunt themselves or lift themselves up to the top of a situation, seeking to gain credit, because that gain of credit in their mind causes them to believe they are raising to a higher level. They have more credibility. They have more, um, more influence with other people. Hey, Larry, good to see you on the show again, my friend, my good buddy, Larry. I've shared a story on the show. Larry, it's so good to see you on here that we reconnected a couple of weeks ago when I was out in Oregon, and I was sharing with my wife how funny it was. And Larry and my brother and I were talking about it. Super short rabbit trail. The only person I ever got in a fight with in high school was Larry, and it was basically a non-fight, and we decided we would wrestle it out and punch each other a couple of times and draw a crowd. And at the end of the fight, it was all like, yeah, you better stop, and he was like, yeah, you better stop. And now we're friends. And he said, you know what, we were just stupid kids. And I'm like, you know what, we were just kids. Isn't it funny that those kind of things can happen in your life, and then later on you look back at them and go, holy cow, what was I thinking? It's not something like we ever harbored resentment towards each other all of these years. Larry's living a great life. I'm living a great life. I moved to Texas. He's still in Oregon. And every time I go back to Oregon now, I'm going to look up Larry, and we're going to go out and eat pizza, and we're going to have a good time. That's the show today, man. It's forgiveness. Larry didn't do anything that damaged my life, and I certainly don't think I did anything to damage his. So it's just fun. Life is good when you choose to make the right decisions. And I'm so happy that I was able to reconnect with Larry when I was out in Oregon. Larry and Kevin Kent, they do construction, and they did deforestation on my parents' property, brush removal, gorse removal, brought the canopy of the trees up to about 12 feet, made this previously overgrown property look like a state park. It's incredible. Love that. Love that. Love that. And thank you, Amanda. You needed to hear this today. You are so welcome, my sweet friend. So, do you realize that your unforgiveness has bound you to the other person? It's like, you're going to think this is crazy when I liken this, but I'm going to liken this unforgiveness with the kind of tie that it binds you with, very similar to when two people who are not married have intimate relations. When that happens, something happens spiritually in the supernatural that binds you flesh to flesh with that other person. And it's hard for people who have done that repeatedly to let go of past habits, because you have been bound to that other person intimately. When you choose to unforgive, you are binding yourself to the other person, whether intentionally or unintentionally. But how can you unintentionally choose unforgiveness? I just don't believe that you can. Why should we forgive other people? I mean, we're halfway into the show right now, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're just unpeeling the layers of this onion. But when you have chosen unforgiveness over someone who's wronged you in the past, you bind yourself to that person. Every time you think of them, you remember the wrong that was done to you. Every time their name is brought up, whether you smile and say kind things about them, maybe in public, you remember what they did. The Bible says that when we take our sins, our transgressions to God, He casts them into the sea of the sea of forgetfulness. He throws them as far as the east is away from the west, right? But as humans, we find it hard to do that. So when maybe we say to someone else we have forgiven that person, but in our mind, have we really? Have we really? That's the question today. Why should we forgive others? Is there a reason we should? And what about other people that harbor you into unforgiveness? When you're in conversation with your friends and they bring up that other thing and that damage because you've shared it with them so many times, you may have some friends that keep you in that pit of unforgiveness. Now, your true friends are the ones that should tell you, hey man, you know what? You probably need to man up. You need to girl up and you probably need to let that go. But on the other hand, the other side of that, I don't think that you should forgive others because your friends or someone is pressuring you into doing that. I don't think you should let the pressure from others convince you to forgive something. While they are well meaning and they may be your friends, um, a lot of times others around you pressure you into forgiving someone else because they don't want to be around you when that person may be part of their crowd, or they feel uncomfortable hearing you talk about this past damage or this hurt that has happened to you. Many of you probably know that. You know, you have friends that just, you know what, they don't want to talk about it anymore. They're done. Talk to the hand, right? They don't want to hear about it anymore. But if they're pressuring you into forgiving for that reason, those are selfish on their part. They just want to have a good conversation with you. They want to feel good. They want to have a good time, and they don't want to remember past hurts. And if you are walking in unforgiveness, you continue to bring those up. And in essence, you are driving your friends away based on that spirit of unforgiveness. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it very much. Terry McCaffrey says forgiveness starts with facing facts and forgiving yourself for your failures. Then forgiving becomes much easier because you are set free to be real in relationships. Awesome. Jason says, forgiveness, my. God has brought this to me too, and now 3 times this week. Isn't that amazing? It seems we're on a trend here, guys. I appreciate it. And this is getting into some other the things that we're going to be talking about here shortly at the end of the show. So we just went through don't let others pressure you into forgiving. It won't take. And what does that mean? If you're only forgiving someone else for the sake of your friends and those around you, maybe family members, that's not really true forgiveness. You're not forgiving them for you, you're forgiving them for them. And that will never take. It's going to continue to cause damage in your mind. The next thing you need to do is take an inventory. What is the damage that you have truly experienced, and be specific. You may say, and I could say, so and so murdered my sister, but I forgive that person for murdering my sister, but I can't forgive someone for murdering my sister. Does that make sense? You can't forgive something for something they have done to someone else because it affects you negatively because that person is your friend or your family member. You have to take inventory of the damage that you experienced. What kind of loss did I experience in my life because a person took the life of my sister? We just went heavy here. I don't know if you felt that. We just went heavy. What damage did I experience because someone else took the life of my sister? I lost 25 years of experiences with my sister, conversations with my sister being able to come visit me, to share vacations together, to watch her nieces grow up and graduate school, to go to choir concerts, to watch them play volleyball, to watch them go to college and get their degrees in college and serve in their church and the different places they have worked. That's the damage I have experienced. My family has experienced the loss of not having that sister around for many different reasons, but the damage I have experienced is the loss of experience. 25 years of life experiences of my oldest sibling that have been taken from me. That's the damage that I had experienced. So those are the kind of things that I have to get real with other people and say, that's what I have to get to forgive for. What kind of damage has been perpetrated in your life? What are the damages? What is the damage that you have experienced? So and so talked bad about me. Okay, how did that make you feel? How do you picture that person in your mind? Is it a damage that lessened you in your stature in life, in your walk in life? Did it cause you to be a different person? Have they really damaged you? Did they shop at a competing business? Did that really damage your business that much? Or does a person not have the right to shop at multiple places for things that they want, right? What is the damage that you truly experienced? Did they belittle your name, your family name? Did they physically harm you? Or did they simply say something that slighted you? Walk out of the prison, Jason says. Unforgiveness is prison. That's what we're getting at here. Is the cost of unforgiveness higher than the life you missed out on because of it? I believe that it is. When you weigh the cost of unforgiveness against the life you have missed out on because of the unforgiveness, I think that you will find two different things. If you put together two parallel lines of lifestyle, expected lifestyle, and actual lifestyle in a life of unforgiveness, those two lines are very far apart, and there is anger and resentment between those two lines. But when you choose forgiveness, those two lines intersect and they change, and that lifestyle line becomes higher, and that line of unforgiveness becomes lower, and that becomes a life of peace, happiness, and joy. And which kind of a life would you like to live? Don't let the cost of unforgiveness outweigh the life you could live when you choose to forgive. Next, how do I go about forgiving someone? Wrong question. I don't know if you know this, but the Bible uses the word forgive 62 times, and 27 more times it talks about forgiveness in general. One of them does talk about turning the other cheek, but turning the other cheek is not really about forgiveness. That is about returning violence for violence. So that you couldn't really use that here. But the word forgive or forgiveness used over 80 times, nearly 90 times in the Bible. And the question isn't, how do I go about forgiving someone? The right question is, why should I forgive someone? And two or three of you watching the show have already come up with the answer, because when you choose to forgive someone, you set yourself free from that tie. You choose to cut the tie that you have to the person that has wronged you, or you believe that that person has wronged you. And let's talk about that for a second. Black Rifle Coffee Company. Sorry, it's my Roasters cup. When I'm shopping local, I shop at Roasters Coffee. I made some coffee today from Black Rifle. So good. My throat's a little dry. Let's talk about perceived wrongs for just a second before we go back into this point. Many times you are holding unforgiveness against somebody, unforgiveness towards somebody, because someone said something about you, or you perceived that something was done to you that is not true. And when you go back to that person and tell them, I believe you have wronged me, and this is what I feel like, and I choose to forgive you for that, that person could turn around and say, I am so sorry as well. That was never my intent. Or they can say, I'm sorry. That is actually untrue. Someone else said, I said that about you, or I did that to you, and it wasn't even true. So, number one, we should try to work those things out with that person and get over that and find out the truth. But many times we're harboring unforgiveness against someone who really didn't do anything to us. We have a perceived thought or notion that they did, and many times we misunderstood what they said or did. And the only way for you, if there's a possibility that you misunderstood what someone said or did, you should automatically forgive them because you misinterpreted it. If there's a chance that what they did or said is not true, that you misinterpreted it, you should automatically forgive them. And not 9 times out of 10, that's not something you even need to go to the person and say, I think you did this, this, and this, or I heard you said this, this, and this, but I forgive you, because that's basically hostility that you're enacting against them, accusing them of something they may not have even done, and then choosing to forgive them. And that's passive aggressive, and that's not right either. But how do we go to someone that is truly wronged us? And this is a basic statement that I think would set a lot of you free. You can tell that person, I believe this is what you have done to me. I forgive you, and I don't need anything further from you. I don't need your forgiveness. I don't need an apology. I'm already over that. I forgive you. I don't need anything further from you. That person doesn't need to come back into your life. You need to continue to keep a boundary with that person, and that's going to help you in the future from future hurts, future harm, future damage by that person or other people in their circle who can say, well, they didn't do anything wrong. Why are you forgiving them? Then it just brings it all right back up. You say, I believe this is what you've done to me, or this is the loss I've experienced because of your actions. I choose to forgive you. I don't need anything further from you. And at that point, that tie is cut. You are set free, and you walk away. And that person can either reject or accept that forgiveness from you. I believe that most times they will accept that and say, most times they will say, I'm sorry, that's how you feel. I'm sorry, that's what you believe about me. Maybe that was unintentional, but it's powerful. They may apologize, they may not, but you know what? You're telling them, I don't need your apology. Thank you anyway. I forgive you. I want you to know that you're forgiven. You walk away, the tie is cut, and you are set free at that point. Now, what do you do after that? You continue to walk in that. When that person's name comes up, you no longer harbor resentment. You've forgiven that person. You've set yourself free from that evil thought, from the unforgiveness that you were carrying. And then you need to turn around and do the important thing, and that is forgive yourself. Why should I forgive myself? Because you're the person who chose unforgiveness for that length of time. And if you don't forgive you for choosing unforgiveness, how can you forgive someone else? So you can say, it's not the same statement, I forgive you. I believe this is what I've done to myself. You can ask God to forgive you, but God's already forgiven you for that. You say, I'm sorry for having this spirit of unforgiveness. Lord, help me to be a better person. Help me to forgive as I ask others to forgive me, right? And when you do that, you set yourself free from the self-doubt, from the belittling of yourself. Self-deprecation is good in conversation, and it's better to, make a little bit of fun of yourself, but not to the point that you put yourself down. But forgive yourself for the things that you have done and set yourself free from the bad habits you've had, the bad mindset you've had, the conversations you've had around others that maybe have caused them to distance themselves from you a little bit. I've had some friends in the past that were always making mistakes. They're saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing that hurt others. And the redeeming factor that a couple of these people had is that they were quick to confess and ask for forgiveness and apologize, and to say, "Oh, I know I did that, and I'm so sorry. Would you please forgive me?" Being quick to apologize that's almost a superpower in my life, in my mind. If someone knows that they are doing wrong and they're quick to apologize, they recognize it, and they ask for forgiveness and want to move on, that's great. But wouldn't it be better if your superpower was having a legacy of being quick to forgive? Wouldn't you like for people to say, about you, about Larry, about Eric, about Sid, some of the other people watching the show, or Marlene, wouldn't you like for it to be said about you? Marlene, she's always one of the best things about her is she's so fast to forgive others when they do her wrong. And I've seen that in her life. She works with me, and she's so fast to forgive when others have hurt her. She may go through it for a while. Other people watching the show, other friends and family members of mine, harbor unforgiveness. And whenever I talk to them about it, I want this to be one of the statements that I make. You have to learn how to be quick to forgive, because people are human and they have a human nature, and they're going to do things that wrong you. But number one, identify what it is that was really done to you, identify if it was really done to you, and then be quick to forgive that person. Be quick to forgive that person. Let that be your legacy. I was quick to forgive, not only others, but me as well. Today's bonus tip: forgiveness is the most unselfish thing you can do. Remember, guys, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. Maybe forgiveness is uncomfortable for you. It's not something that you have practiced a lot in your life, but I would like you to start today. Today is a great day. Yesterday was the best day, but today is the second best day to learn to forgive. Until next time, I hope you have enjoyed the show today, and this has helped set you free from some of the things in your life. Thank you, Jackie. I didn't know you're watching. Thank you for commenting. I love you. It's so good to hear from you as well. Everyone else, Cody, everyone else watching the show, thank you guys for your comment. Like, love, share the show. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure and subscribe to the channel and click on the bell notification next to this to get notifications. Next time we go live, if you're watching on LinkedIn as well, we are live on LinkedIn and Facebook. Every time we go live with the show, be sure and share the show with your friends as well if you believe it will help them also. Until I see you next time, this has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.